Today's daily word is faith. I have faith in the power of God working in my life. The more time I spend with God in prayer and meditation, the stronger our relationship develops. This strengthening provides a base upon which I build my life, just as a house is built upon a firm foundation. Even if the winds of fear blow and storms roll in, I have faith that my house is safe because the rock beneath me is unfaltering. However, during difficult times, I may struggle to trust that God is working toward good in my life or in the world. If I feel defeated because of a challenging situation, I turn my attention to spirit. I focus on the calming rhythm of my breath and my body relaxes. I do not seek a solution. I simply rest in the presence of spirit. My faith supports me. I feel my trust in God and I have peace of mind. There is no Holy One like the Lord, no one besides you. There is no rock like our God. 1 Samuel 2:2. Again, today's daily word is faith, and our affirmation is, I have faith in the power of God working in my life. Together, I have faith in the power of God working in my life.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
And now I invite you to visualize our sanctuary as a beautiful heart. And we see this heart moving around us, moving through us. Back into Sunday school, just filling our whole center with this light and this love, the caring and compassion. That love that we have for ourselves and each other. Take these moments to allow our heart to bring forth that energy of being connected, the energy of being whole, the energy of being well. Breathing in this space. We hold everyone in the light. If you know of anyone in need of prayer, see them right now in our heart. If you know of any circumstance in our world, in your life, that is in need of prayer, we hold them in the highest as we sing the prayer for protection. And now I invite you to get comfortable where you are. Close your eyes if that feels right to you. We begin our time of centering in prayer by just breathing. Taking a deep breath. That very breath of life that is God. And as we exhale, we begin to relax. Breathing in again deeply. And holding it briefly. And we exhale deeply. And once more, breathing in. Breathing in that light, that love, that air that keeps us moving. And as we exhale, we begin to let go. We surrender to our greatest, highest good. And relaxing our breath. We know that this is our time of reconnecting with the God of our being. Relaxing into the stillness. Feeling that oneness. This moment is a new moment. And in every moment, we can grow and change and be connected to the God of our being. And in this day, right here and right now, we allow ourselves to bring forth that spirit of truth in us. We bring forth that all-knowing, all-loving presence that we choose to call God, or life, or the universe. And we allow spirit to move through us, every cell of our being, awakening the truth, the life, that love that is within every cell. We allow ourselves to awaken to all that is. We allow ourselves to feel free, to feel whole, to allow spirit to guide and direct us. And in these moments, as we go into a time of quiet prayer, whatever need you may have this day, whatever gratitude you may wish to express, allow that to happen right here and right now in a time of silence. I invite you now to take another deep breath. And as we exhale, we feel more alive. We feel connected, open to spirit, open to truth, to guidance and direction, and above all, being open to love, allowing love to fill us and nurture us. And with gratitude in our heart, in our mind, and in our spirit, we just say thank you, life, for these powerful moments of reconnecting with the God of our being. And so it is. Amen. How's everyone today? Great. Great. The end of June already. Ready to go into the week of 4th of July. And oh boy, you want to be really ready for the 4th of July? Okay, nobody does. All right, that's good. Are you ready? Okay. So you know what it would take to be really prepared for freedom? It's another word that starts with F, and it's forgiveness. So if you want to be ready for this independence, this interdependence that we have, we need to forgive. How many of you have anyone or anything that you're still holding on to some stuff about? Yeah. We do, don't we? And sometimes we're not even aware that we're holding on to anger or resentment or bitterness. Isn't that true? It does happen to us like every day. And if you picture, I had a spiritual teacher once, and she said, if you picture it like an octopus, that every time you have that thought or that experience about someone or something, they're sucking onto you. And what do you look like by the end of the day if you have not gotten rid of all those taco tentacles, you know? We'd look pretty sorry, wouldn't we? And we'd probably have a lot of black ink splattered all over us too. So it's our job every day, and every day we got to do this, is practice forgiveness. And Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, did it every day for 30 minutes a day. And once you start forgiving people, the list can go on and on. And in those moments of silence, you can feel the energy as you let them go. It's that powerful. So how many times a day do we glom onto an anger or resentment? A lot. So aren't we willing, isn't it logical that we should spend some time every day doing that forgiveness? And to forgive, what did Jesus tell us to do? You know, Peter asked him, how many times should we forgive? 7? Once a week? 70 times 7. So 70 times a day times 7 days a week. It's a lot. But if you picture that as we move through life, we start to carry more and more. And if we're not letting go and releasing all that negativity, it will take its hold on us, won't it? It will make us unhealthy, bitter, angry, resentful. We'll carry all kinds of nonsense with us. And then we begin to express that into our world. So as we go through the practice of forgiveness, and what happens when we practice something? We get better at it. That's exactly right. So if you practice forgiving every day, what's going to happen in a week's time, a month's time, a year's time? You will be an expert at forgiving, because it will begin to happen automatically, just like some of our automatic negative thoughts happen on a daily basis. And so how do we do this forgiving thing? I don't know. Because sometimes for me, I think, oh, I forgave that person. I worked on it a long time ago. I did all this work. I did it again 5 years later. And then I did it again another 5 years later. And lo and behold, I'll hear a name, not even the person I was angry with. And I'll hear that name and I'm like, oh, I've got a hit on that. It's like if any of you have had any of those PET, those PET scans, it lights up if you have cancer inside of you. That's what happens to us when we hear someone's name or an experience crosses our path, and it will light up. And what do we want to do with that light sometimes? Shove it down, make it go away, pretend it doesn't exist. And is that true forgiveness? No. Forgiving means we want to give it over. We want to give it for something. And we got to release it and we have to let it go. And who gets hurt when we're in the throes of forgiving and not doing it? Is the other person? Is that person still alive even? So you know you're not going to ever see them again. But we're still holding them in a special place. And is it always easy to forgive? No. No, it is not. But I've recently had a lot of that going on. So that's why we're having this lesson today. Because a lot of things have been happening in my life, triggering old memories, old experiences, and adventures. And it's like that still small voice said, you know, there's a little more forgiving to do. You know, like Ricky Ricardo would say to Lucy, you got some forgiving to do. But he never said that to her. Lucy, you got something to do. But we'll put in forgiveness in there. Because when we don't forgive, we get bitter. And bitter doesn't taste good in our mouth, does it? Doesn't feel good in our body. And I know when I have an issue with someone, I have to work some kind of program or something on it. And that means before I go to bed, which is when I can lay down and forgive. Are you willing to do that sometimes? Just to practice laying down before you go to sleep, and then I start going over my day. See those places, those persons, those things, and am I so happy when I have a clear day and I don't have to go into any forgiveness work before I go to sleep? Because I want my sleep to be a beautiful thing. I want to wake up and feel rested, and I want to wake up and feel alive. We also often use our You Pray app, and we listen to that little 3-minute meditation before we go to sleep, because it just sets the tone of how I'd like to be when I'm sleeping and how I'd like to be upon awakening. Did any of you ever try this when you were a kid, a teenager probably, and you learn to tell yourself, your body, to wake you up at a certain time? Do you even do this as an adult or anything? That was one of the first lessons I learned in Unity, is I could actually not have to have an alarm clock, and I could wake myself up. But when I went to sleep at night, the first times I did it, I was so afraid I wasn't going to wake up. Did any of you experience that? Absolutely. So I had to learn, I had to practice trusting that I would actually wake up when I needed to wake up and be refreshed. Now, does it always work? I still want to have control. Any of you want to have control in your life? Does it bring you any issues ever? Yes, it does. And so the adventure of learning how to do these simple tasks. You know, the first task you learn in Unity is to manifest a parking place. Are you expert at that? Yes. Nan is, Sharon says, especially when?
Especially in Kona.
Especially in Kona, manifesting a parking place. But I sometimes fail at that too. Do any of you have failures about some of the things that you just take for example? You know, we take for granted that we know how to do these things. So we have to continue to practice. So when I'm pulling into, you know where, Costco, and avoiding it on Saturdays because it's quite busy, but I just say, thank you, God, for the perfect parking place. And then I have to let it go and practice the patience that it'll take for me to get that parking place. And then what happens? I have to be grateful. So that's how simple the activity can be, is being aware, okay, I'm going to a place, I'm having an adventure, and we do this with forgiveness. This is how I work it. I ask God, what is it I need to do? Because I'm feeling uncomfortable right now. So it comes to mind, it comes to heart, and it'll happen when I'm washing dishes. Activity about God tends to happen when we're doing a mindless task. Like when you're gardening, you're just doing these things feeling grateful, and all of a sudden something will come to mind. And so that's what happens for me, and it's like, oh, where'd that person come from? They're not here. They're not with me, but I'm harboring something. So I say, okay, God, what do I need to learn here? And if I listen carefully and be patient, I will always get the answer. Because it's usually not ever about them, is it? It's about me learning about me. How powerful, how loving is our God. And it is very hard at times. And so when we see that energy, we feel the energy, we ask God, what do I do with it? Okay, I don't want to talk about it now. Any of you do that with God? Your relationship with God? I do. It's like, can we save this for later? Labor. A little bit of slip because there's going to be some labor involved. So I'm going to have to let it go. I'm going to have to trust that everything works together for good for those who love God. And recently I put in some You Pray apps and I got back these beautiful letters. You know, when you do the You Pray app, you can get an email back from Silent Unity. And it was all about that everything is in divine order. So whatever my prayer request might be, I have to know that it's all in divine order and I can't control it. I didn't cause it, and there's not much I can do about it except pray, release, and let it go. And allow that void to happen so that I can be filled by the Spirit of God. And I'll tell you, often I do my daily readings and I daily word and flip open my Bible or go in some kind of order. And it was all about forgiveness this week. And so I was like, okay, God, what is it? What do I need to give for something? What do I need to let go of in these instances? And it's all about saying, okay, I'm willing. I'm willing to let go. I'm willing to trust. I'm willing to learn more about myself and get that little aha moment that says, it's all good. It's all going to work out. It's all in divine order. And you may not ever know why any of these things occur. This past few weeks, probably for the last month, I've had a lot of grandchildren that have been in my care. And I'm learning so much from my youngest grandson right now. He's 8 years old, full of beans, but I'm telling you, the lessons that come out of his mouth, his behavior, and when I look at him as this spiritual little being, I'm like, and to give him the compliments and the praise and the admiration at 8 years old, what a gift he's giving me to allow me to give back to him. It's wonderful. And to hear the pitter-patter of feet down the hallway at 6 o'clock or 5:30, whenever he wakes up, and to not be upset about it. Because, you know, grandmas can get upset about little things. But I don't want to be that way. So when I hear him and he comes and he just slowly peeks around the corner to see if I have one or two eyes open, looking at him. So I keep forgiving myself every day for who I might think I have to be, being a grandparent. And to just say, good morning, Polu. How'd you sleep last night? Oh, good. And he usually wants breakfast. You know, and those aren't things that I'm really used to except for this last month or so of getting up, immediately moving and shaking like I used to do when I had a house full of kids or grandkids. And so the adventures never stop coming. The lessons never stop coming. But at the end of that day, I want to know that I'm in the right place, doing my right work at this particular time. And it's all about forgiving me for a thought I might have had, a behavior that I might have had, something I might have said, or something that I think someone else has done to me. It's so powerful, the gift of forgiveness. I'm going to share with you Charles Fillmore, what he wrote in Revealing Word. You know, Charles Fillmore wrote so many things, and it was so powerful in his writings. They went worldwide. It was very, you know, he took a little book, he called it The Revealing Word, but it's like a dictionary of spiritual truth. And so he wrote this about forgiveness. A process of giving up the false for the true, erasing sin, which means missing the mark, and error for the mind and body. It is closely related to repentance, which is a turning from a belief in sin to a belief in God and righteousness. A sin is forgiven when one ceases to sin, and true forgiveness is only established through renewing the mind, the body, with thoughts and words of truth. Forgiveness really means the giving up of something. When you forgive yourself, you cease to do the things that you should not do. Jesus said that man has power to forgive sin. Sin is the falling short of divine law, and repentance and forgiveness are the only means that man has of getting out of sin and of its effects in coming into harmony with the law. It is through forgiveness that true spiritual healing is accomplished. Forgiveness removes the errors of the mind, and the bodily harmony results in with divine law. And so, if we want to know if our lives are in divine order, practice forgiveness. Know that you have enough faith to move mountains. Allow yourself to practice forgiveness every day. How many people in your life really bug you? There are those people. And I know that through the practice of getting better and better at forgiveness, of letting go, of trusting, and moving through a situation, I'm going to become more whole. These are pieces of my puzzle that I get to put back together. And that's how I look at this whole experience of life. And so I invite you today, these moments, to allow forgiveness to take place in your heart, in your mind, and in your spirit. If you have an opportunity to do a meditation about someone that you want to forgive, I learned this in Unity many years ago. To see that person lovingly held in Jesus' embrace. Maybe it's the Buddha. Maybe it's someone else that you hold in esteem. It could be Mother Teresa. But you see them sitting there, held in light and love by great healers and great teachers. And if you can do that, you will move through the energy of forgiveness. And knowing that if God can forgive, he doesn't really forgive because he doesn't ever condemn, because there's only love. And that's a belief system. And another way that we all learned about forgiving was through an old program in Unity called 4T for Prosperity. And Reverend Stretton Smith, who created it, had a powerful lesson about telling our story. Because we all have a story that's attached to someone we're mad at, wouldn't you say? And so we got in these little dyads, and we had to role play the story. And we had to learn to speak of the story from the third person. And so when we speak of our own story from the third person, we don't have the energy and the anger and the resentment and the frustration coming through when we tell someone our story. So say like, for me, the hardest person to forgive was a person that my mom married, and he was abusive and mean and cruel. And I was the brunt of his anger and his hatred. And that's a person who keeps coming up every few years for forgiveness. So when I tell the story about this person, and I do it from the third person, I don't have the energy because I've set myself apart to come apart for a while and learn that the energy and the spirit that was this person is not me. And that I no longer have to tell that story with all the energy and the anger and the frustration and the poor victim that I was. But I was a child. I didn't create any of this energy. And so learning to tell that from the third person frees me from holding on to that energy that can destroy me. Because it absolutely would. And it wasn't until I was 30 years old and in therapy that I learned how to work through these issues. Because I was afraid. Have any of you ever been afraid and had to look over your shoulder, seeing that every person that looked like that person might be that person, and they might be coming to get you because they said they would? So through working through recovery and therapy, it helped me free myself up and learn to tell the story in a third person, so that I didn't have the energy, the feelings, because I'd worked on them and I wanted to continue to work on them, but I also wanted to continue to let it go and learn how to forgive without letting him come back in my life ever. There's no way that I would have to do that, but I could release him from my heart, from my body, my mind, and my spirit, because I was always hurt. And whenever I thought about that situation, so now I have a new take on it, and my goal in that particular time in my life was to be the strongest person that I could be. And that helped my siblings and my mom to work through that difficult time. And that was my job. I signed up for that. And I was willing to be the best that I could be in that situation so we could move through it. And we did. And as a 13-year-old, it was very difficult. But also, it was one of the gifts that I know today I was given, is to be a strong and powerful woman. And that is what I own today from that time in my life. And the ability to serve and care and understand when things happen to people that aren't very nice. So it creates that sense of compassion and caring and love, of which I will always be grateful. So I invite you to practice in your life daily some time of forgiveness. It might be in the morning when you start your day. It might be in the middle of the day. It might be when you're having a meal. It might be when you're at the beach. But whatever it might be, let it happen. Practice the forgiveness that'll move through you and free you so you can become the independent, loving being that you truly are. Thank you, everyone.